Welcome to the Ellevate podcast, conversations with women changing the face of business. And now your hosts, Kristy, Wallace, and Maricella, Herrera.
Hello and welcome to the Ellevate podcast. This is your host, Kristy Wallace, with my co-host, Maricella Herrera. Maricella, how does it feel being a kid again?
Magical.
So for our listeners, Maricella just returned from the lovely Disney World, and you spend, a year and a half cooped up and sheltering in place during COVID, and then you make all your dreams come true post-COVID and head to sunny Florida for lots of rides and fun. So I'm glad you had fun, although we missed you.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I missed everyone. It was an interesting trip. I hadn't been to Disney World in probably 30 years. It was also quite ironic that I was there while Hurricane Elsa was coming.
Oh, I didn't make that connection.
Let it go. Yeah, she did let it go, though it didn't hit us as hard as we thought it would. So Disney was actually quite nice. It was nice. I was with a friend and her kids, and God, I don't know how you parents do it.
Why? I mean, I know why, but why do you say that?
Because it's so much work and so much emotional energy.
So true. So true. I actually was talking about that a bit with our guest today, who's also a parent of two. And when I was speaking with Julie, we were kind of just talking. She runs, or she's the president of P.volve, which is just so cool. Really focused on fitness for women, but beyond kind of just a work. Not just beyond workouts, it's looking at your menstrual cycle, it's looking at all aspects of health and taking care of your body for the long haul and just being really intentional about that. And what I had said to her was that I have had such intent around, becoming more physically active and paying more attention to my health and well-being. And then, with three children, it's like they come first and the business comes first and our community comes first and everyone comes first. And it's a lot. And how do you kind of prioritize yourself, knowing that, when you're as strong as you can be, you'll be as strong for other people as well.
Right. The same concept of putting your oxygen mask on first, which I love thinking about, but also is so hard to actually put into practice.
Yeah, I mean, because we care so much about those people in our lives, and we want to put them first. I think that's the natural inclination. But sometimes you have to rethink that approach a little bit and know, if you take care of yourself, then you can do a better job taking care of them. But yes, children, particularly in the land of the mouse, can be an undertaking.
Yeah, the land of the mouse was quite a different experience with kids. I mean, they're not my kids, so thankfully I could run away, but still.
Well, you've been on a trip with my children before, Maricella, and I saw you getting manicures, pedicures, all kinds of cool times. I know you're definitely fully engaged, and your friend was lucky to have you there.
Thanks. It was fun. I like hanging out with kids in small doses. This might have been a little too much.
Well, let's get to my conversation with Julie so we can talk more about the ways that we take care of ourselves and our careers and follow our passions and dreams and do all of that great stuff that is happening now that we are, moving into this next phase of life post-COVID, kind of. We're getting there. But let's get to that conversation with Julie. Julie, it is so wonderful to meet you. Welcome to the Ellevate podcast.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
I wanted to share a little bit with our audience about your story. It's something I think so many of us can connect and resonate with, this pathway through corporate America and then pivoting to follow your passion and do something that's changing the world and creating, awareness and conversations and impact on something I think important to so many of us, which is, fitness and health. So Julie, if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about your story and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I love sort of telling this story because I can't believe it's mine. But I was at really the same company from the time that I graduated college. So I worked for an entertainment company that was owned by, stars at the time, and really got a really great start in product, in marketing, and then eventually into leadership, and was really satisfied for those first 18, 19 years. Continued to just be challenged, although now I kind of look back and I kind of laugh a little bit. And throughout that entire experience, I really fell in love with a very small division of our company that centered around fitness. So I ran the marketing and product teams at my company, but I wanted to also work on this, smaller area of our business, about $50 million at the time, and I really wanted to be in charge of fitness. So very early on in my career, I just said, can I do this on the side? Can I have this little area of the business? And they're like, sure. And, as I was continuing to evolve in my career, every single manager would be like, why don't you just sort of get rid of that? And I'm like, no, I'll work extra just to keep that. Don't worry, it won't be a distraction. I really love that. That's why I get up in the morning, but I'll do my day job, And that was a really important part of sort of how I got here because, I've always been really, really excited about the wellness and fitness space and, and just product creation and bringing product to market. So, the founder, there's the co-founders of P.volve, the co-founder, Rachel Katzman, she had been really looking for a leader to bring on board because she knew that this method and this idea that her and her co-founder had sort of come up with, which is now known as P.volve, needed leadership. She was 23 years old and, she wanted somebody who was experienced. And, I had a female that I had worked with that I really looked up to for, most of my career. And she kept being like, Rachel wants to get in touch with you. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'm super happy. I'm super happy doing what I'm doing. And I decided on a whim to finally, she broke me down to fly in on a red eye because I was commuting back and forth from Chicago to LA for my day job. And, I decided to take this meeting with the co-founders and I took it. And, I sat across from them very much sitting there kind of doing it almost as, just trying to be nice for this person that was would not take no for an answer. And, Rachel really started to talk about what is now called P.volve and what her vision was. She was 23 years old and she was just talking about this pursuit of, this type of body. She wasn't getting what she wanted from other boutique fitness, but really that's not what was powerful. She said that when she started to work out in this particular method, she started to have less pain and she became so much more aware of just how important to not just look good, but how you feel. And I sat across from her and I'm like, okay, I'm obviously not going to leave my 18-year career, but I want to help you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you find somebody that can lead this charge. I'm going to come on as a side hustle. And at the time my company had just gotten purchased by Lionsgate. So I felt like I arrived. That was everything that I had worked for 18 years. I was running marketing and, over at Lionsgate, and I decided to just take it. And, I think it was supposed to start off, I was supposed to work 5 hours a week on, at night. And I was putting in 40 hours all weekend long, all night, after my, powerful day job. And I fell in love with it. And, there's a lot more to that story, Kristy, as you can probably imagine, but it was there was no decision in it. I did it for a year. There's a lot that happened during that year that just like kept every morning I would wake up and I'm like, what am I most excited about today? And it was really about P.volve. It wasn't, and I just knew that no matter how risky it was, because it was, I'm a mom, I'm one of the breadwinners of my family, and I'm proud of that. And I was walking away from a lot of stability. And I just kept thinking about the decision and I was like, nope, there's nothing worse than regret and I got to go for it. And I left Lionsgate at the end of, 2017, that pivotal year, having done the side hustle all year. And the rest is sort of history.
So I have so many questions for you. The
Oh, God.
first is about Rachel. Like how much did it matter, not just the mission, but who was driving that mission and who you were joining?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. We are a very unlikely partnership. We really are. She was 23 and I was 40 at the time. She was talking about understanding for the first time ever, the importance of how you feel. And she was so energized. She's a very big visionary, big risk taker. And I was 40, just having had two children, having gone through my own health issues. And I knew how important it was to feel good. Like I had already learned that lesson and I knew that it was just so important. So we complement each other really, really well. First of all, we were in the trenches at a startup. You're like you're unclogging the toilet while you're like making your next decision on who to hire. But we both are builders and we both complement each other because she's a big dreamer and I'm an operator. And we developed this mad trust for one another and respect. I mean, I think it has to, Kristy, start at the heart of it. You have to respect that person. And we just built this unbelievable bond of trust. We fight like really hard about like what it is that we want for this company, but we really believe in each other's intent, in really delivering this P.volve, globally. So we're very, it's a great partnership.
And then were there any surprises moving from this corporate environment and throughout your career? It sounds like you were in the same organization but at different stages and inflection points and acquisitions and all of that. But moving to this startup environment, were there any surprises there?
I mean, there's still surprises. Certainly. I think I never thought it was going to be easy. I never knew it would be this hard, but it's really, really, really fulfilling in a completely different way than my, quote unquote corporate job was. The speed at which you can move, the lack of like bureaucracy and just how decisions are made is so freeing. But I also, I think that you learn at a startup. I really do. I think that you learn that it's really important to learn, and I think that when I look back at my career, I think those last 10 years, I was doing my job, but I wasn't like challenged and like learning every day. And that's something that's like really fulfilling. I make a ton of mistakes. We make mistakes all the time, but we're like learning from it and we're growing and we're building. So yeah, I mean, the lessons being learned all the time.
I love that. I also think too, and I say this as a CEO of a small company, there's there's this aspect that was hard for me moving from being more of a operator and COO to CEO of accountability for others. When you're in a big corporation, it's it's a big organization and there's a lot of people who have the kind of weight of it all on their shoulders. And then when you're leading the charge of a smaller company, the ownership over employees and revenues and investors and all of that kind of can land squarely on your shoulders. And how have you dealt with that? How has that felt?
Yeah, Kristy, I think that's like a really great point. It is. I mean, it can be sort of consuming. I I certainly feel that the accountability that you have over other people's lives, your team that works so hard for you, you know, is really big. I want to make sure that we're making the right decision to provide access to P.volve globally, certainly, but like there's also these people internally that are part of your team, like really the fuel of how you get there, and the idea to let them down, to not have met the revenue that we had expected and have to do layoffs, that weighs heavily on me. And you're right. I think when you're the president of a company, there's nobody else to blame kind of besides yourself. So, that is something that I've, definitely had to deal with, and is made me have sleepless nights. But, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. I wake up in the middle of the night and it's like my mind is racing because I feel this accountability to move this business forward. And I'll say something, and it's not really a great thing to say out loud, but like, I can't fail at this. This is like my mission. And I've never really had that feeling before. I mean, I haven't wanted to fail before, but like this failure is absolutely not even something that I can even bring into my thought process. It's like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this for the people, and we're going to do this for the company. And it's just it's a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of reward.
Tell me more about P.volve and what, you shared what inspired you and what's motivating you, but share with us more about the problem you're solving and how you're doing it.
Yeah, no, thank you. P.volve is so different than anything else in the market. It really is totally rooted in functional fitness. So that really means that it is mimicking movements that you are performing in your everyday life. And the importance of that is that like they're safe movements, they're very effective movements, and they make you better at the things that that your body was really meant to do. And it combines this dynamic joint movement with our patented proprietary resistance pieces of equipment. We've got 3 patented pieces of equipment that really accelerate these amazing results that we promise. And the results are like really threefold. Number one is we absolutely can build a very sculpted, toned body. Great. That's like table stakes of fitness. I think the other 2 things, though, that we're really trying to disrupt the marketplace and really change the way that people are viewing their daily fitness routine is through pain and performance. So, really this idea that if you can get your body moving in the way it was intended to move, you can actually reduce pain, but also protect your joints from injury. But then there's this performance aspect through our mobility and these dynamic movements that allow you to do the things that you love. I'm 45 years old now. I want to be able to pick up my 7-year-old still, and and I want to be able to play a game of golf. And the idea that you are moving your body for sustainability is really important. So it's just a completely like redefined way of looking at your daily fitness. And even to take it one step further, we're taking really daily fitness, and we're developing content with our clinical advisory board. We've got doctors that sit on our board to really like move your body to help you deal with the things that you deal with throughout your life. So a lot in women's health, everything from pelvic floor health to how you deal with your menstrual cycle, all 4 phases. And it's just powerful what your body can really do.
I love this because certainly during COVID, I, went from moving, walking to the train or commuting or doing more to not doing that. And I've never noticed my body more than I have in the past year and a half. The aches, the pains, everything that's bothering me. And, certainly some of that's aging and other things, but a big part of it for me was just this lack of movement. And I wonder, what are you hearing from your customers about this past, year and a half?
Oh my gosh, we're hearing just exactly the same. You're definitely not alone. Movement is so powerful, and it's important even for your mind, right? Like just this idea that you're moving your body can help to alleviate stress too. So our members' stories are powerful. It's like our guiding light. Everything from, again, thank God we had P.volve, during this time so that I could stay mentally prepared while I, taught my children for the first time, at home schooling. To, I really I learned, to really not hate working out. I learned to like really appreciate the way in which my body was moving, to, staying sane, to, realizing, more than just what they came to us for. They may have came to us or come to us, really for keeping them in shape. But then they realized just how much more this method was bringing to their lives. So I love the members' stories.
Tell me about, a story. Is there a customer testimonial or, an experience you've had that have just, kind of left you in this moment of yes, like, yes, we are doing this right. This is what is needed. I'm so, happy and inspired and energized for the work I do, because I'm really seeing firsthand how it's impacted others.
Yeah, every Tuesday we have an all hands. We've got about 75 people working for us. We've got an all hands meeting, where we bring a member at any stage of their, sort of journey with us. And we bring them on and we ask them all sorts of questions in front of the entire company every Tuesday. We're listening to the customer in many, many other ways too, but this is like my favorite time of the week. And recently, we actually, have some fitness content that we just came out with, an entire program called Phase and Function. And Phase and Function is all about the 4 phases that your body goes through from the time that you're 13 years old all the way to menopause, which is crazy for us women, right? And how through movement, mind, and meals, how you can work with your body and not against it, like actually understand how through this like education, but through still like your daily workout, you can actually feel better. And so we had a recent member on, and she was talking about her journey as a woman, right? And she, had horrible periods from the time she was like 14 years old. And she was just kind of told like to deal with it, and, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have to sort of like feel awful, sometimes even like actually getting physically ill. You just have to deal with it. That's what you have to do as a woman. And later she was diagnosed with endometriosis. She went through infertility issues, like all sorts of stuff that this woman's body, which is like a miracle, was sort of going through. And we had her go through our Phase and Function, program for about 2 to 3 months. And she just came on, and she was actually like really emotional. And she said, it's the first time in 25 years that I've not had to take Advil, she's like, I feel so like great. I mean, she's like, I'm also, fitting into jeans I've never fit into, but really it's just about this empowerment of like really understanding and knowing your body. That was a really, really powerful one. We talk a lot about her. She's obviously, still a very, very active member. But that was like a day when I kind of like woke up and I'm like, wow, we are really doing something amazing.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's what it's all for, and I encourage our listeners to, to listen to your customers, right? And when you hear their stories, then yes, what we're doing matters. It's having a real impact. And it can be challenging sometimes to, look across. We all, in marketing, you try to create the customer avatar and who is this person and what keeps her up at night and, where does she shop? And there's all of these aspects of trying to define, who you're serving and how you best serve them and connect with them. But when you hear in real time from a customer about the impact you're having, about the life that they've lived and the journey that they've been on, it is just inspiring. And I love that story.
Yeah, Kristy, I'm like such an emotional person, and that's how I lead too. My entire team has seen me in tears over whether it's like, global events that are like really powerful or customer testimonials. Like how great for us to be able to do something that impacts people's lives in a positive way. What a gift. And I want people working for our company that know how big of a gift that is. And so we really try and keep those customer testimonials at the very forefront of, our everyday.
Yes. And I want to jump on the emotional leader because I am as well. And, I sort of, I've come up through banking and tech and, very male dominated industries. And, I still, every time I get emotional as a leader, I'm like, I struggle with the, is this okay? Should I be this way? No, and leaning into that authenticity and who you are. But, media and everything that those industries that you came up through, do you struggle at all with defining yourself and being and owning that emotional leader label?
Kristy, I feel like we're one and the same. Yes, I do. I grew up in really in the Hollywood. I mean, so like talk about a male dominated um, industry. I mean, it is like if you showed your emotion, you were weak, right? Like that's how I felt. I definitely never would have shown it. When I decided, that this was like my life's mission is to like work at this company, I gave myself a little bit of, well, first of all, I don't really have control over it. I don't know if you're like that too, Kristy. Like when I'm talking about something that is powerful, if I could control it, I would. I don't. I can't. So I remember the first time I got emotional, like in front of the group, and I was, oh my God, like I was actually honestly embarrassed. I really was. I'm like, as the president, I'm not supposed to do that. And the outpouring, I mean, we are a female run, primarily female, driven like company. So the amount of outpouring of the team saying like how refreshing that was, and like it almost gave these young women who work for me the ability to like be emotional or be themselves. It's like, why can't we? Although I have to tell you that was like, maybe 2 years ago, and I still probably, it happens in front of the whole company probably like twice a year. I'm not kidding you. And definitely more often in smaller groups, but it's getting easier and easier, but it's still hard. It's like, wait, that felt good. It's getting good reception, but I'm still hard on myself because it's not what I was used to, in leadership my entire career.
Yeah. No, but now's the time to redefine leadership. I mean, we've seen, there's so many conversations happening across many levels, right? We're talking about business sustainability and multiple stakeholders and how leaders are really, taking it on their own shoulders to create businesses that have that positive impact, to really think about their workforce, to think about their customers in new ways. We're seeing, hopefully, I mean, we are seeing it, but I hope it continues this trend, more women in leadership and more diversity of thought and experiences and approaches, right? There's not one way to lead. And yet for so long, and for so long, that you and I have been in the workforce, all the people we looked to who were leading were very similar and had similar, approaches and communication styles and all of these things. And so we're kind of forging this path for ourselves and redefining it for future generations. And there's a lot of importance and power there about how we own that, and not feel like we have to excuse it or adhere to, an ideology or methodology or persona that, is dated now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, look, I can't stand BS, like any of it. And so when you're showing true emotion or when you're leading with complete empathy, or that's like as real as it gets. Like, why are we here? I mean, aren't we here to have the best intention to sort of like move our relationships and our business and like forward? And I think giving ourselves that room to be real, I think is really powerful. I actually like, as much as it's still like a little hard when I do it, I I hope that, the young people, men and women at the company, like know that there's not a one size fits all for leadership, that you don't have to be, you know, like your male like leaders in the past. You don't. You have to be you, and that's okay. And I've really in the last like 2 years, I've really leaned into to getting to know strong female leaders, because it's funny, our stories are often very similar, some of the things that we had to deal with, but also just who we are, in terms of the mom guilt or all that kind of stuff, but also just the importance of us continuing to have confidence in how we lead. And that's been, a really like powerful like network for me to sort of allow myself to be this way,
Yeah. No, yeah. Yes. And, especially over the past year, I mean, living through a pandemic is, I think it tests you in ways it's hard for so many to understand, right? I mean, and as a parent during the pandemic, and as, I mean, it's just, I mean, there are times when, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to homeschool and I'm worried about, the health and well-being of my family. And I'm worried about my team and about our business and about our customers. And there's so much uncertainty and so much unknown. And, being open to that, being able to say that is hard. It's hard because, as leaders, we feel that we should have all the answers, that you want to put on like a strong stance for your team and say it's going to be okay and we can do this, but in reality it's not, and the more that we are just able to be honest and real, I think that's how you inspire others, and that's how you connect with them, and how you are able to just lead from this place of being true to who you are.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's why it's really been rewarding. I think in the development of some of the content, most of the content that we're developing around women's health right now, because being real, we as women, Rachel and I and the team, we know where we've been sort of underserved. And how can we provide solutions in that area? And again, that all comes from having this authenticity of kind of going through it ourselves. Like, let's allow ourselves to be real. Let's allow ourselves to talk about the topics and the things that are um, like affecting us. And there's just so much about women's health that like people still hide their tampons like in their house. It's like, huh? And just the idea that we can talk about what we're dealing with from a menstrual cycle or a fear of menopause, or what do I do now that I'm peeing after having a baby, like let's talk about it and let's like find solutions. So I bring that authenticity into like everything that we do.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to end learning a little bit more about you. I have a quick lightning round of questions, and if you could just answer in a sentence or less. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an introvert.
What is your favorite day of the week?
Saturday. I love Saturdays.
Saturdays feel too short for me. They never last long enough. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird, definitely.
Who would be your dream dinner guest?
I think I work really hard. I work a lot, and I love to laugh. Like laughing and finding someone to make you laugh. So probably like somebody like Kristen Wiig, just a really funny person. Just is the best.
Do you have any pet peeves?
People not doing what they say they're going to do. That is like my pet peeve.
What is your must-have Monday morning staple? What do you need to get your week started off right?
I know this is going to sound a little cliche, but like our live virtual studio, classes on a Monday, I think it's a great way for me to connect with the community, but also just to hold myself accountable, to move my body.
What is your favorite recent read?
Oh gosh, Radical Candor. I've read it 3 times. I'm a work in progress, and I'm still trying to master tough conversations.
Top self-care practice?
Well, I do run P.volve, so definitely P.volve, but also meditation is incredibly powerful in my life. So I would say meditation too.
And do you have a final thought you want to leave with our listeners here today?
Gosh, I just think, especially for your audience, we have to do everything in our power to remove self-doubt. You gotta give yourself some credit, and I deal with it all the time. And it's like, I gotta push it away, in the last 3 years, what we've built and what we're continuing to build is so incredible. And I think as women, we need to give ourselves credit and, just kind of try and continue to remove the self-doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Ellevate podcast. This has been such a great conversation, and it was wonderful to chat with you.
I loved getting to know you better too.
Thanks so much for listening to Ellevate. If you like what you hear, help a girl out. Subscribe to the Ellevate podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars and share your review. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at EllevateNTWK, that's Ellevate Network, and become a member. You can learn all about membership and all the great things that Ellevate Network is doing at our website, www.ellevatenetwork.com. That's ELLEVATE network.com. And special thanks to our producer, Catherine Heller. She rocks. And to our voiceover artist, Rachel Griesinger. Thanks so much, and join us next week.
On Deloitte's OnCloud podcast, my co-host Mike Cavus and I talk with innovation leaders to explore how they use cloud engineering for new possibilities for their organizations. Join myself, David Linthicum, by subscribing to OnCloud, wherever you get your podcasts.